Hatia has been trialling Robodog for close-quarter battlefield reconnaissance, using its stealth capabilities and powerful head-mounted camera that can relay real-time video feed to an operator several kilometers away.
All right, y'all, welcome back to Comrade Arms channel. Okay, so today we're checking out a video from the Daily Mail YouTube channel. Now this one is titled "The Killer Ground Drones Hunting Russians in Ukraine." Now what we kind of think about already, kind of like we see in the thumbnail, is like the crazy Boston Dynamics looking like robot dog kind of things with like, you know, I think of like a machine gun attached to it. Or, you know, of course you could have like some of the smaller kind of like ones with the treads, maybe with a gun on it. I just kind of think of like more automated kind of just guns, really, just like something you can control with a gun on it, bring it around a corner and use that. But I mean, we haven't really seen that in any videos so far, so I'm really curious to see how these are actually being used, especially to hunt Russians. That's not something we've seen specifically as far as like a ground drone used like that, at least in any of the videos that I've checked out. So I'm wondering like what their kind of capabilities are. I know there are a lot of ground drones used for like demining and whatnot, but for stuff like this, as far as like hunting Russians, I'm really curious as to what that would look like. But it's about 21 minutes long, so should be interesting. It looks like it's been getting a lot of views since it's been uploaded. It's got like over 1 million views in 2 days, which is pretty insane. And before we get into the video, I do want to do a shout out to a Kickstarter by my longtime friend and also fellow YouTuber Luke over at Original Human. So he has a Kickstarter for a new health drink called Morale. Now, him being a former Royal Marines commando, I trust his opinion a lot more on how to properly fuel the body, because again, he's been there, he's done that, he has the life experience. So with the Morale, it is a new health drink made out of adaptogenic mushrooms. Now, looking into the research, I know a lot of people will think it's kind of very inconclusive, and it is pretty early in the research. However, you have to think with adaptogens such as, you know, these mushrooms, things like ginseng, they have been around for, you know, centuries, even millennia. They have been around for a long time. People swear by them to give their body that focus, that energy, that stamina, especially that sort of stability, that homeostasis. A lot of people swear by them. So although the studies might still be pretty early, pretty young, it's definitely something that a lot of people will rely on already. So it only makes sense to kind of put this into a sort of health energy drink to kind of, again, give that body that homeostasis, that energy, that focus. And again, me, you know, as a warrant officer, everybody always sees a warrant officer with his, you know, mug of coffee, which again, I drink a lot of coffee, probably too much coffee, I would say. And then I also dabble in energy drinks. And yeah, with those, I mean, I usually add some stuff to it. Even with energy drinks, I get a little bit of energy and then I kind of crash out. So it's not necessarily like the healthiest. It's not the most reliable, and definitely doesn't really help with like the homeostasis when you do have that kind of crash after all. So yeah, definitely something that I am super eager and willing to back on this one. So again, he has that life experience. He has been there. He has done that. And I trust his opinion 100%. So I definitely trust him on this journey and this Kickstarter. So I'll put a link down in the video description. Definitely go and support him out. Take a look. If you want to do some research yourself. And compared to the last Kickstarter that I sponsored on this channel, I do know the owner and I trust him 100%. So you do have that. And yeah, if you backed that last one, I apologize, because I'm still trying to reach out and figure out what's going on with it. But yeah, definitely go and check out that link in the video description. Now let's get on to the video.
Come fetch. Fetch.
Oh my God, the sound and look at that thing is fucking terrifying.
Today she's in a playful mood. She doesn't bark and she doesn't bite. But if you're with the Russian military, she can do a whole lot worse than nip your ankle.
What is that thing on the front?
Better to have her on your side.
Okay, seeing this robot dog with like the snake skin kind of camouflage done on it, that is terrifying.
This dog is much more obedient than my greyhound. In this two-part male frontline film,
same with labs. Ooh, let me fix this real quick.
Cameraman Jamie Wiseman and I traveled to the Kharkiv Oblast frontline areas.
So you guys don't think your screen's
broken?
broken?
We meet the futuristic ground drones deployed by Ukraine's most innovative combat unit, which has been given the nickname the Billionaires Brigade. We spend an evening in a vampire's crypt near the Russian border and watch the vampires bite. We see how a disabled tank is recovered under cover of darkness, while the ever-present drone threat interrupts an old-fashioned artillery strike.
Okay, there's a drone very close.
Or it's like value on the battlefield? I don't know if that's a stupid question. Maybe it's very obvious.
Frontline is spending a week with Robodog's owners, the so-called Billionaires Brigade. The unit claims to be the template for a future cutting-edge Ukrainian army. Certainly it's among the most innovative and glamorous of the frontline formations here. As such, the brigade is able to recruit Ukraine's best officer cadets, counts a number of celebrities among its volunteer soldiers, and it's no stranger to visiting global dignitaries.
Weird.
It might have started as a territorial defense unit, but Dad's army it is not.
Damn,
So who are these poster boys?
I haven't seen this unit before.
The 13th Kharkiv Brigade of the National Guard of Ukraine, as it's officially titled, was founded and funded in 2022 by Vsevolod Koshimenko, one of the country's wealthiest businessmen.
Oh,
Most of its battles have taken place inside its native Kharkiv Oblast.
Interesting.
It led the charge to the Russian border during Ukraine's successful Kharkiv counteroffensive in the autumn of 22.
Nice.
Last May, the unit stopped in its tracks the Russians' renewed push towards Kharkiv city.
Damn, that's cool.
Whilst
like
in
this
the south
one
of
dude
us, in
just like
Donbass, the Russians are advancing relentlessly.
funding a
Up
whole
here on
unit.
the battlefield between Kharkiv city and the Russian border, the invaders are not only being held by Hatia, but in some places pushed back. Hatia believes in a more cerebral approach to combat.
Is this 3D printed?
Mission planning and execution follow NATO rather than Soviet protocols.
Okay, this is so cool. I'm such a dork for like being so excited about this little stuff. But I mean, I've seen a lot of terrain models in my day, and to actually have the piece of equipment, generally speaking, I mean, even like potentially just completely accurate, that they'd be actually using and being able to move that is really, really cool. 3D printers. Okay, so if you guys haven't seen my Instagram, I got a 3D printer recently. It is so much fun. I actually just had to pause it recently because I was about to start recording, and it is very loud, and it's also like right here. But yeah, it's pretty interesting to see what kind of stuff you can do with a 3D printer. Not just like talking about the armament, but also just like the planning aspect of, you know, this. It's really interesting to kind of be able to like really visualize everything, especially for some people who might not necessarily be as experienced to understand what you mean when they say like a BMP or a BTR or like a, you know, the M113, stuff like that. You might not necessarily be able to kind of like picture it right away. So having a visual aid is pretty cool.
Each attack is prepared and reviewed in detail using 3D printer-made models and specialist software. A Hatia S3 planning officer spoke to Frontline about the brigade's adoption of the 7-step military decision-making process, which is followed in the West.
MDMP, yes,
Найбільш важливі – це отримання завдання, після якого іде
that mission analysis is by far
який складається із вивчення місцевості,
погодних умов, противника
та, власне, більш детального аналізу поставлених задач і власних сил, які нам доступні для виконання цього завдання.
That's very cool.
Які типи відпрацювань оцих rehearsals ви робите в підготовці?
Rock drills.
По-перше, це відпрацювання на макеті місцевості, який за великим рахунком нагадує карту, де ми використовуємо модельки, роздруковані на 3D-принтері. Другий елемент такого відпрацювання – це вже на більшому макеті, де, скажімо, командири малих піхотних груп, командири машин присутні. А третій етап, найбільш масштабний, це вже відпрацювання на самій місцевості, коли підрозділи у повному бойовому спорядженні з своїми...
Okay, so that is totally... Real quick, let me try and make myself a little bit smaller here just because I know I'm covering up some of these subtitles. Okay, I think that should be good. I know in my job specifically, I mean, military intelligence obviously has a big part in this stuff, but my job specifically doesn't really. But if there's a chance I can kind of use 3D printed stuff to brief something, I'm 100% going to do that. That is very cool. But yeah, like he's saying, you're going to be doing a lot of like, it's going to be the commander saying, okay, this phase of the operation, what's everybody doing? And everybody needs to brief it. And then they're basically going to be like, okay, well, what if this happens? Or why are you doing this? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Or do you have certain equipment? Do you have equipment ready to do this? Or do you have stuff that you can use to do another course of action? So there's a lot that happens just in that. A lot of things you can kind of weed out. A lot of like, I guess like common sense things or just sanity checks you can get down there. But of course, when it comes down to those infantry dudes, the people on the ground, there's going to be a lot of actions like on the objective that need to be rehearsed, especially when you're talking about hitting a trench or something. Entering the trench is going to be like the biggest thing. You need to get a foothold, and then moving through that, all the battle drills as far as like, you know, CQB kind of stuff, general tactics like that. And of course, just like general weapons, you know, handling stuff when it comes to that. There's gonna be a lot of things that you're going to practice, but it's going to be mostly those key events when you're moving on to the objective.
Машинами бойовими відпрацьовують найбільш важливі етапи виконання завдання, такі як розгортання в бойовий порядок на техніці, спішування і, власне, ті дії, наприклад, дії штурмових груп, які передбачаються при, власне, виконанні завдань.
Seems like a solid S3. You need a good
the
S3.
footage you're about to see now, provided to Frontline by Hatia, chronicles a combat operation in the second half of 2024, from the planning process to the full-blown assault on Russian positions in a forest northeast of Kharkiv city. Some of the footage has been censored for security reasons.
Oh, nice scrim, jeez. Oh yeah, dude.
Here we see unit commanders being walked and talked through
Wow.
a floor model. Of
How
the
do they do
operational
all
area
that?
and their individual roles.
Ми робимо все для того, щоб ви виконали задачу і залишили цілими.
Okay, so this is kind of what I'm talking about, where they're like, let's do a sanity check of everything.
A diversionary feint is explained.
Really? Okay, nice.
The attack's armored thrust is practiced for a final time.
Fuck yeah.
The assault
They got
troops
night vision
gather in
stuff.
darkness and are assigned to their vehicles.
Nice. Dude hits him. Helium. I guess they're trying to blur some voices out as well or something. Nice, damn, these night vision cameras are on point.
Sunrise. The attack is about to be launched. As Hatia's armor advances on the enemy tree line, watched by friendly drones,
Nice, dude.
artillery is beginning to fall.
Yeah, it seemed like
This
they
is a
thought
moment of
about.
truth for the assault infantry.
They thought about a lot. I mean, even just like those
Basic instructions
cages
from the troop commander.
to stop RPGs is awesome.
The assault troops have been given dozens of GoPro cameras to record and later analyze the
Oh
unfolding
no
attack.
shit! Damn. Okay.
What you're watching is not an exercise. This is a close-quarter small arms battle on the edge of the forest.
Oh my god! Oh my god! I'd be so nervous.
Tension
Just get my
back in
leg
the
run
control
over.
The Hatia assault troops are on top of a Russian dugout.
Oh, he's got a Triticon with an RMR. It's like a
Now the
$1,500
enemy is heading
optic.
back. Grads begin to fall into the forest along the line of advance. The small arms battle intensifies
And a peg
as more
and
Russian positions are
suppressor.
reached. Grenades are being used.
We're seeing a lot of different weapons though. So I guess he doesn't really fund
Ukrainian attack drones now to the
those
flare.
maybe directly. I mean, $1 billion doesn't get very far, honestly, when you're talking about like military equipment. Let's be real. Especially for the length of time they've been at war.
Нам надо 60-кой, отработать 60-кой.
Nice. Yeah, they got indirect fire as well. Dude, having that support on the infantry dudes is huge. Just to be able to like shake them up if you're getting suppressed too much,
Ukrainian artillery is also engaging the Russian positions.
or to soften them up as you
The
move
pressure
up.
begins to tell on the defenders.
Nice, dude. This seems really well coordinated. Holy cow. And a lot of helpful resources for the infantry. Artillery, armor, you got mortars. Damn.
The Ukrainian drones record Russian soldiers fleeing their positions.
It's always
Clearing of
interesting
enemy
seeing them
positions with grenades and small arms fire is underway.
just
The
running
fighting is
without their
intense.
weapons.
Here, a Ukrainian throws a grenade.
Cool. It's so
Another
that
grenade. into another.
I mean, we've seen a lot of like forests and stuff, but this one looks properly, like pretty well vegetated still. So like we've seen this with like the 3rd Assault Brigade and whatnot, where they have a lot of like thick vegetation. And I know they do some like reconnaissance and stuff, and there's ways to kind of tell where people are moving from and to kind of understand where the dugouts might be beforehand. But even still, once you're on the ground, everything is going to look very, very different. And then trying to see it through this is
Russian trench.
a lot tougher. It's very easy to get your formation
casualties
moved around to an uncomfortable extent when you're looking for those.
Отработали около 5-6
I wonder what
рор.
that patch was.
Все гранаты туда закинули. Жестокий убийца.
Frontline understands that as a result of this assault, the Russians suffered more than 60 casualties, lost a howitzer and an anti-tank firing position, and were driven back to their next line of defense.
Damn.
Kharkiv can get their hands as dirty as any other infantry brigade.
Okay, I was
But what
wondering
we really
where
wanted to see were the combat robots for which the unit is known.
the drones came in.
The Ukrainians call them ground drones.
Oh,
It
no
took a little
kidding.
time to arrange the demonstration. That's because the remote-controlled machines are already being used on the battlefield.
Is that, you
They're
got a
not toys
claymore
or
on one?
prototypes. In fact, Kharkiv claims to have carried out the world's first ever remote-controlled machine-only attack on a Russian position in
Really?
Kharkiv in December.
Huh.
To view the evidence, we drove north to Kharkiv from Donbass on one of the few truly wintry days in January.
Imagine that's just a bunch of
The drone
robots
unit
attacking
operates out of
you,
a secret workshop in Kharkiv city.
not hearing a single word,
It's
and you're
led
just
by
getting shot at.
20-somethings rather than the Generation X's you tend to find in charge of other units on the front line. In fact, the average age of the whole of the Kharkiv brigade is only 31. These are
Oh
young
my
scientists
God.
or gamers who've brought their peacetime skills to develop this high-tech warfare.
No kidding, dude.
Jess,
Wow.
age 20, is the unit's coder.
Я займаюся налаштуванням польотних контролерів. Це
Damn,
такі
who would have thought,
платки
like-
всередині дрона,
It's kind of
які,
depressing, but
допомагають дрону приймати команди від оператора. Тобто
coders making
я
war
займаюся
robots.
налаштуванням цих платок, периферії, для того, щоб дрон розумів, куди йому їхати, де повернути і взагалі що робити.
How does it feel?
Good
to work?
organization.
How do you feel about working for such a special unit?
Ну, в цілому мені подобається і дуже цікаво працювати в цьому напрямку, тому що підрозділ дуже перспективний, те, чим ми
Didn't
займаємося,
expect to be coding
поки
this.
що не так розвинено, тому розвиватися дуже цікаво. І також мені подобається працювати в команді з провідними фахівцями і людьми, тобто фахівцями своєї справи.
Okay. And could I ask you finally, what did you do before the full-scale invasion?
Oh yeah, good question.
До того, як я пішла служити, я навчалась, працювала, тобто жила своє звичайне життя. Просто намагалася розвиватися в зовсім в іншій справі, але в якийсь момент я усвідомила, що
Nice. That's a really awesome way to just
моє
like
місце.
take a
Thank you
skill or
very much,
passion
Jess.
and
Pan 26 is the unit's deputy commander.
because like we see it a lot with Ukraine, like they basically develop positions and units on what people can kind of translate their civilian skills to. And now the army, I mean, the US military has kind of been trying to do that as well, where they're like, you know, if you have these skills, you can come in and you'll come in at like a higher rank, or you can be an officer if you come in with like certain skill sets or like certain degrees even. So it's kind of interesting to kind of see that, but they're again developing entire units, all their like equipments, just entire identities with these units, based off of, again, just taking this civilian skill and trying to apply it to the military, because everybody, again, is trying to kind of do what they can for the war efforts and try and translate what they can to have some effect as far as helping with the war. And this is really just showing how creative you can get with that, but also like what you can do as like a 20-year-old, how much of a difference you can make for a unit or even just like a geographical area if you have this brigade with these capabilities in this part of Ukraine defending and doing counter assaults, using all of that. It's pretty cool to see.
A molecular biologist by training, he was about to begin a PhD in Germany when the full-scale invasion began.
Wow.
His particular interest was biological evolution. Now he's involved in the development of war machines.
What we're looking at actually are ground drones. These are sort of robots that can be remotely controlled on the battlefield, yes?
Of course, they are,
Jack of all
can
trades.
be
just
remotely controlled, and
smart.
we usually control them remotely and trying to do it as far from battlefield as it's possible for safety of our operators. This particular drone is used for logistics.
Well, we can see it's carrying a lot of firewood here.
Yeah, it is because we used it for test.
Yeah, just a bunch of weight, I would imagine.
But it could be used for ammunition.
Of course, ammunition, any supply.
I'll take ammo over firewood.
It's actually replacing human beings for doing.
I mean, that's a lot of weight they're demonstrating right there.
Manned by human beings.
Yes,
damn.
You're right. It replacing humans, making their job easier, safer, and
keep them out of harm's
also
way.
replacing other vehicles that are more vulnerable and more costly.
And I can see.
And again, having like a robot like this, when I was in reconnaissance, even in the infantry, having something like this to resupply us would have been awesome, because otherwise when we were in the reconnaissance, we had to get somebody from headquarters to come out with like a Humvee or something and drop it off at a location that we would determine, and then we would eventually go and get it. But even still, they were generally pushing a little bit past our kind of like friendly lines. So if we were able to kind of get a robot like this, either be aerial or a ground kind of drone or robots, that would have been awesome. Just keep them at harm's way, reduce the signature even more so we're not taking like a Humvee, and then again, make it a little more versatile to get even just into like smaller areas potentially.
These, they have either tracks or they have heavy tires. These are capable of going across pretty rough terrain, yeah?
Yes, but everything
just fill them up with the foam.
Its limit.
Could you tell me, I know this unit is still pretty secret and confidential, but I mean, how long have you been operating on the battlefield?
Our unit operating on a battlefield for around half a year.
And that's on the Kharkiv front, yeah?
Yeah.
And
that's
I know this is early days
pretty
yet,
intense
but
combat,
are you
no doubt.
encouraged by the results of your operations with these ground drones?
We enjoy our result because we don't have a lot of people. Each person highly specialized. We do a lot of work with small amount of people, and
no doubt.
And I understand that
awesome.
These vehicles, these drones, are developed entirely in Ukraine, yes?
They manufactured in Ukraine, but the majority of them are upgraded and modified by us before we use them.
The final question I was going to ask you is, so are we actually looking at the future of warfare here?
We are not looking at the future, we are looking already at modern warfare.
It's happening right now, dude. We're using them.
2025.
Of course.
That's so weird to think about.
All kinds
Really
of military
interesting
robots are to be
distinction.
found here, from machines that can lay anti-tank mines or mount machine guns to heavy load carriers. All are controlled remotely, obviating the need for a human to be in the line of fire. Ukraine is increasingly short of soldiers. Such robots could provide the answer to the shortfall.
Nice, dude.
The star of the show, because it, or rather she, is so very strange, is Robodog.
What is that thing in the front,
This is
though?
the
That's what I want to know.
22-year-old unit commander, call sign Happy. In repose, Robodog looks like an oven-ready chicken, except a green light has now started blinking in its head.
Interesting.
This is 13 Brigade's famous
Now it's ready to
robot
kill
dog,
somebody.
which is waking up from its sleep.
Robodog
I'm like
is
really
amazing,
skeptical
and
as
also more than a
to
little creepy.
what you can use that for. Yeah, very creepy. Especially with the terrain being so like,
Unlike
muddy
the
and
other robots
shitty.
deployed by the brigade, she was not developed in Ukraine.
It's amazing.
Bruh.
She's an adaptation of the Go-2 model, made by the Chinese company Infantry Robotics. Off the shelf, the Go-2 costs a little over £2,000.
That's not bad. Damn, 2,000?
That's it.
Hatia has been trialling Robodog for close-quarter battlefield reconnaissance, using its stealth capabilities and powerful head-mounted camera that can relay real-time video feed
Interesting.
to an operator
Fuck,
several
that's
kilometers
creepy.
away.
Jesus.
Unfortunately, it doesn't speak English. It doesn't speak English.
It's been reported that both the US Marines and Chinese Army have tested an armed version of Robodog. The Marines with an anti-tank missile, the Chinese with an assault rifle.
Golly.
A cavalcade of battle robots sets off for the countryside.
Terrifying. The reconnaissance makes a lot more sense.
This is all
Especially
very
urban
weird.
reconnaissance.
This creature also belongs to the unit. It's a real cat, by the way.
No way, really?
We arrive in a field a few miles outside Kharkiv city. Robo-dog is let off her leash and shows a surprising turn of pace.
I want to see the cat's reaction to that fucking thing.
You can see how well she's camouflaged, merging into the mud. In case you're wondering, I say she because dog is a feminine noun in both Ukrainian and Russian.
Interesting. But just like imagine you're in like a patrol base or something in just a house. You're a Russian.
Surprising turn of pace.
You just see this.
You can see how well she's camouflaged, merging into the mud. In case you're wondering, I
you
say
feel like
she
you're like seeing
because dog
shit and
is a
stuff.
feminine noun in both Ukrainian and Russian.
Like some SCP or something.
This is an anti-tank mine laying drone. Now, in combat conditions,
That's awesome.
the operator would be several kilometers away and would be controlling it via a Mavic drone overhead.
Interesting.
And we'll just show you how it works.
Oh yeah, the drone network, man, that's crazy.
One mine at a time.
Nice. I mean, just like close down a road without sending anybody even remotely close to it. It's
all
big.
done remotely and without any particular risk to the operator.
Wow.
We now have an anti-tank barrier on this part of the field. This particular ground drone is designed to mount a 7.62 machine gun somewhere here.
Oh,
it has been used in combat and it has been used to attack Russian positions.
I want to see that footage, man.
Again, it will be used remotely. The operator can be several kilometers away, and he'll be directing it. She will be directing it via a Mavic type reconnaissance drone.
See, like, okay, so I mean, I imagine it does okay in the terrain, but all you really need is like just something like a grade like this, and this thing's probably gonna fall on its face, or again, you need to move it very, very slowly. It's probably still pretty loud. So, I mean, unless it's like raining and there's other stuff happening, I guess you can kind of move this around a little bit stealthy. But the terrain is going to be the most challenging thing. The feed, especially being able to kind of like see everything, is also going to be challenging. I mean, I know a lot of these, they didn't have like the inner tire tube and stuff. It can get punctured and basically still work fine. But even still, I still wonder the utility of stuff like this. I was thinking more of like, if you're having a support and you need like a support by fire, you have a machine gun up on like kind of like elevated terrain or just kind of off to the side, and you're using that to suppress everybody while the maneuver people can dismount or just, get online in general and start pushing up while this thing is suppressing. You can kind of use it like that, and then you can kind of have it displace, while people are moving. It's not going to displace very quickly. Maybe it might not even displace as quick as a normal machine gun team, but to have a support by fire that essentially can't die, even if you like shoot the tires, unless you really like knock out the cameras or the sensors or the communications, this thing is still going to be hitting, and you can kind of displace it, moving it a lot closer than you would a normal support by fire, actual people. So that's kind of a more interesting aspect for me, thinking from the infantry perspective.
Overhead. Let's see it move. You see, it's got plate armor, and the turret also revolves. This kind of technology is not the future of ground combat. This is actually happening now on the battlefield.
He stole it from that dude.
Here we see footage of one of the Ukrainian machine gun drones successfully attacking a Russian position inside Kursk.
Oh shit, yeah, just taking the road?
I'm invited to take control of one of the small, fast robots that could perform several tasks from carrying supplies to
What happened?
Perform several tasks from carrying supplies to kamikaze attacks.
Oh my god, it's terrifying. Just rolls into your hole and blows up.
But one's attention keeps returning to the sinister, crowd-pleasing robo-dog.
It's so creepy. I love it. I hate it.
Very good.
Look, it's just like jumping through the field towards you.
One final trick. Roll over. Roll over.
This particular robo-dog doesn't bark, but has been programmed to say something very rude to any Russian it encounters.
Okay, that might have to be bleeped.
Yeah.
We saw it in the workshop.
The psychological warfare
tricks.
too.
Now it's out in the field, and you can see it's been running around this field very easily. It's got a camera in its nose, which it uses for reconnaissance. It seems very agile, particularly on this the flat surface here. It can do a variety of amusing tricks, but its intent, its purpose is deadly serious.
I still want to know what that thing is in the front that's spinning.
Very good dog.
Oh, cool. I was wondering if we'd be able to see the feed. Oh, it's got like a...
This footage is giving a slightly
too.
misleading impression, as it is the robo-dog's controller, a soldier standing just off camera, who is the one following my instructions, rather than the drone itself.
The drone in the background.
No doubt, with the evolution of AI, that day will come. Now let's look at what Robodog saw of this sequence,
Just
or
driving
rather
him
the
around.
images conveyed to her pilot.
Good dog. Go fetch. Fetch.
Not bad. I wonder what kind of range you get on that thing.
This dog is
Show
much
heart.
more obedient than my greyhound.
Like a spaniel after a walk on a wet winter's day, she needs a bath. Nor is she completely sure-footed.
This is some considerable leap forward from K9, who appeared in Doctor Who while I was during my childhood.
I don't know that reference, but I'm going to
Meanwhile,
Google
around
it
us,
immediately.
the more conventional war carries on. In the distance, smoke begins to rise from the latest glide bomb hit on Kharkiv city. While
Oh my
further
God,
along
that's
the tree
trippy.
line, a mobile anti-Shaheed drone team waits for dusk.
Just
and
the
next Russian
motivation.
onslaught. Their anti-aircraft
All
gun
around
is
you.
from a much older generation of war
Constantly.
technology to the ground drones frolicking on the field. And that is probably the technology, deployed in huge quantities, which will count in the end. In the next episode, we spend a night in a vampire crypt, watch a disabled tank being
dude.
rescued, and shelter from a Russian drone.
It's terrifying. Okay, so Daily Mail is doing some very interesting reporting work here. So getting this kind of insights, again, I don't know how, we've seen a lot of videos that kind of cover this stuff already. I've seen something from the Daily Mail previously about like drone warfare. I think it was probably like 6 months ago, they released a video. So they are doing some pretty decent coverage of Ukraine, specifically this kind of stuff, like what modern warfare is looking like and what these specialized units are looking like, how people are taking these skills and adapting it to this modern conflict. So it's very interesting. Again, like reporting wise, I'm all about it because I love seeing how like modern warfare is adapting. It's adapting very, very quick, very different from how you would see it even like 5 years ago, because you have this peer-to-peer conflict, something that the world hasn't seen in quite some time. And again, when you have all these different countries kind of pushing all this technology to kind of either have it be tested or again, mostly just use it to kind of support Ukraine, support the fighters, but having them adapt a lot of this equipment or adapt just general civilian equipment is super interesting, kind of seeing that drive and seeing that ingenuity. And again, it's pretty terrifying how quick it's adapting. Thinking again from like a light infantry perspective, a lot of this stuff would be very, very tricky to just think about. It's very tricky to change your sort of armaments to just prepare yourself for stuff like this. I mean, having drones in the sky, people are carrying shotguns now because, I mean, you have people throwing their rifles at the drones and that's not really working out too well. So now you have shotguns, you have all these anti-drone kind of just boxes to open up, kind of jam the signal or mess with the signal. And then, of course, now with something like this, I don't know, I guess generally some more kind of like anti-tank weapons, some, you know, some laws, maybe some AT-4s, just to kind of help with these weird one-off things. But with a bunch of armor and just artillery and stuff in general, there's a lot of stuff that everybody's going to be carrying. So the infantry loadouts, I'd imagine, is probably like one of the heaviest it's been in a while. You're having a lot of like specialized units as well who have like their own kind of drone operators to support the infantry guys as well, which is awesome. And you're having a lot of kind of more light fighter kind of mentality. A lot of people kind of going light because they're kind of doing these stormtrooper tactics. anyway, there's a lot of stuff happening, a lot of tactics being developed, and super interesting to kind of see all of it happening kind of real time. And it's nice having this kind of coverage to kind of see what is happening, because again, I'm not over there. I can't see it for myself. And even still, there's only going to be so much that somebody can get exposed to, even being over there. But all these other specialized units doing stuff like this, really interesting to check out. And it's great to kind of have a platform to send this out to all of y'all, to hear your thoughts on everything. Because again, a lot of y'all have very different backgrounds either in this kind of technology or just background in the military, in combat arms, infantry. Hearing your perspectives is also really interesting, kind of how it can help, but also, you know, going against that would be kind of interesting, scary, just tricky in general. So yeah, I love hearing your guys' feedback. Definitely comment down below. Let me know what you guys think. And of course, if you guys like the video, definitely feel free to hit that thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. And of course, if you have anything to recommend, definitely send it down below. I will put the original video down in the description so you guys can go and check it out if you want. But that is it for this one. I will see y'all in the next one.